Hi, Dan. You asked me for your class to answer some questions, so I'm going to. Uh, I thought it was very brave of you to reach out to me on Reddit. I'm a pretty normal guy as far as this stuff. I don't have a publicist or like a brand manager or anything, so when you send a message on Reddit, it goes straight to me, although I get a lot of them. But I thought it was so funny when you said other people are asking, like, people at their local multiplexes. Uh, I was like, okay, maybe I can help this kid out. So you want me to answer a couple of questions for you. Number one, how long have I been a screenwriter for? Well, again, not even again because we haven't started yet, but we're going to run into a thing where I feel like I've been a screenwriter my whole life. I always had ideas for movies, which is a key component of being a screenwriter. But really, I wrote my first script when I was 15, but I've been a professional screenwriter now for about 8 years. In a nutshell, what kind of lifestyle does a screenwriter live? Well, they're very different. I am in like the 0.001% of writers, because I've had multiple movies produced and I'm doing TV. And so my life is, now that my TV show's going, is very hectic. But it's sort of, I don't have an office. I don't have a production company. I hang out, spend a lot of time on this couch, and think of ideas, and then I write, and I write in bed and on the couch and in coffee shops. I go to meetings, general meetings. I go from place to place all over LA. Sometimes I have to go out of LA if there's like a big meeting. But the truth is, every screenwriter's life is different because every screenwriter's career is different. So there is not by and large a regular schedule life. How did I get to where I am? Well, I think people have a lot of opinions about that, but a script of mine called, the short and fast answer is a script of mine called Hometown Hero, was seen by an assistant who showed it to an agent at Gersh, which led to me getting managers after a little while. And then fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. I ended up getting some rewrite jobs. Fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. I sold a script called Good Time Gang. I optioned it, and then I wrote a script called Chronicle, and that led to me. I also have a much higher output than most screenwriters that I know, and that's not to say I'm a better writer, but I do inarguably have a higher output, and I have a lot of ideas that I execute quickly, and that helped me well, and I rewrite well, and I rewrite fast. And I grew up, in LA. My father was a director in the '80s who, by the year 2000, he in the '80s he was a very big director, but his career sort of changed in the 2000s, and I was sort of, I watched him. And if your father's a carpenter, you're going to end up maybe wanting to be a carpenter, especially if you like your father. If you don't like your father, you're going to become a, drug addict. I don't know. But the positives of being a screenwriter, well, there are very few of them. The money isn't as good as it used to be. That's a negative. A positive, there is nothing more exciting to me than seeing a scene I wrote happen, or seeing actors read my work for the first time is moving. It makes you feel like an artist in a job that can often feel kind of not like art. But seeing especially when you say being a screenwriter, I'm an outlier. I am a very outlier screenwriter. I am not your typical guy in this job. I'm sort of I'm a weird level of screenwriter. I'm like a B level screenwriter, but I don't know any other B level screenwriters who are like doing what I do. There are like A guys, and a lot of them get like $1 million a week to do rewrites on big studio movies, but I don't do that. I wouldn't be interested in doing that. I probably wouldn't be good at it. And also, I'm weird. I'm a weird guy. I have weird ideas, and when my ideas are sort of hard to execute. But when they execute, you get Chronicle, and when they don't, you get other movies. Um, it's different every time. It's a crapshoot. Those were negatives. That was all negatives. Being a screenwriter is incredible. The money is pretty good. You get to create. If you love film, you get to create films on some level. You're a piece of that process. you have a cool idea in your head. A guy throws a frying pan in the air and a bullet bounces off of it. And then 2 years later, Jesse Eisenberg throws a frying pan in the air and a bullet bounces off of it. It's that part's beautiful. What are the negatives of being a screenwriter? Everything. It's your job, your real job. Ultimately, the hard part is in making it not what you wanted, but making it so other people want to help you with it. No one's going to want to do things just your way. You're never going to have that level of control. And also, on top of that, even if you have that level of control, you won't have the level of control of the individual elements. A great line of dialogue is only as good as the actor reading it. Play it again, Sam is a great line of dialogue. And on the page, it just doesn't look like anything. I'll be back? On the page, what is I'll be back? To be or not to be is a cool line. Guy pondering suicide. But what if someone goes, to be or not to be? Suddenly that great line is a piece of shit. Whereas Keanu Reeves can take the word whoa and turn it into an iconic moment. That's the weight we have as guys who just tip-tap and see it in reflections. It's scary. It's scary to put it out there and let people shift it. And on top of that, you get replaced, you get stepped on, you don't get paid enough, you're not thought of as an important part of the process, and in a lot of ways you aren't. A lot of the best things in movies come in the making of them. A movie is made 3 times and you're only part of one of those steps. But you're also the only one who does everything by themselves. So, Zoe. It's a wild ride being a screenwriter. It's very emotional. What are the challenges you face when working in your sector? In my sector? What is this? My sector? Oh no! I work on the Death Star? Is this THX 1138 in my sector? Everything. It's hyper competitive. I'm doing TV now, so that's just like go, 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 write more than you've ever had to write before. The fact that like you're criticized for things you can't control in your movies, the fact that no one really ever sees your work. I actually, more so than any screenwriter I've met, I go out of my way to make sure some of my pure stuff that I control is out there, like my YouTube channel, my short films, my comic book, my Superman comic book is mostly me. But with movies, challenges, you're dealing with crazy other artists and soulless businesses and everything bad in the world. It's I worked at McDonald's, and at least at McDonald's when I left, I go home and write, and I still have my soul. And I'm so grateful for my entire life. I'm a very lucky guy. But I'm also a very hardworking guy. And these two things combined have brought me into a place where I get to be made fun of and mocked for things I can't control. And it's hard. It's hard emotionally in the same way that, like, I assume every other art job is. Where, ultimately you're selling a car. You deal with people. It's every job in the world. Dealing with people who aren't smart, or maybe who are smart but have very different opinions than you. And, always having to come up with new things lest you fall behind. My dad was famous in the 80s, so, oh my God, people hate that. The biggest challenge you face as a screenwriter is just trying to break in. And I got very lucky in that way. And then the next challenge you face is being able to take notes, because you get extremely defensive automatically. And don't say you wouldn't, because you would. It's crazy. I've gotten better about it, but every screenwriter I know who's good at their job, on some level, when they get a note, their first response is, fuck you. But then, if you listen to the note, oftentimes there's an important thing there and a lesson you can learn about telling the story you want to tell. And then other times it's about telling the story they want to tell. And then sometimes the notes really are just stupid. And that's the scariest feeling, because you have no idea what to do when you get one of those. And you always have to think about it. Like I've got notes 3 years ago that I did because it's my job, but then I was like, that's stupid. And then 3 years later, I'm like, actually, that was a good note. And then also, I've gotten notes where I did them and I was like, this is my job. And then now I look back and I go, I ruined the fucking script. That's why that movie didn't get made. And I'm not a great writer. I think I'm a good writer. So one of the big challenges I face also is a lot of my stuff is extremely tonally unique. And if you're a director who doesn't really get it, or a writer, or anyone who doesn't really get what I'm going for, maybe my stuff's just bad, but it's not bad. I'm good at what I do, and you can read my scripts. You can find them online. They're fun. I pride myself on writing stuff that's fun to read. But if it's a risk doing stuff that's specific, because if one person, if one actor, if one cinematographer, the wrong edit, much less the wrong director, can blow everything. And when you're a writer, you can't really say, hey, cut it out, because you just sound stupid. Everybody goes like this. Shut the fuck up. Like, get out of here. You go back to your couch. But I hope this helped you, Dan. And thank you for asking me. I don't think I'll ever do anything like this again for a stranger. But I had so much fun answering your questions. Goodbye.